Greetings, Edward the MetaTutor here. Today I am going to implement a Caesar Cipher in Python. I'm a big fan of the Caesar Cipher as a project because it has a few just basic components that we're tying together. So it's a good example of the topic of this film, decomposition of functions, which is where we take a problem that we're faced with, right, implementing the Caesar Cipher, which, you can break up into smaller parts, taking input, actually doing the encoding, doing the decoding, right? You can break this up into smaller pieces. Decomposition is doing that, breaking a bigger problem into smaller tasks that a computer can do. So the method that I will be implementing here is to focus on some of the bigger chunks of this project that we can deploy one at a time, and try to predict how the other parts are going to interact with the one that we're building. So we're starting with the main menu. And my goal for this is to welcome the user, ask the user if they would like to encode a message or decode a message, and ask a user if they want to exit. Our first task to focus on is implementing the main menu. I'm going to use a function to do so. We'll be using a function for almost all of the individual tasks that we'll be tackling. And I'm going to name this function main, because it is our main function. That's what's going to launch the actual, this is what I want to display right off the bat. I want it to handle the greeting, and I want it to steer the user towards, encoding or decoding or exiting, and I want it to, be in control of how data is passed between functions. So this is going to be the central function. Let's start off with a welcome message. That was the first thing that I said I wanted. So welcome to, and I'm gonna be annoying here. I'm gonna do some leet speak. Ooh, I can make that a $sign. There we are. Welcome to Caesar Cipher. There we are. Okay. Welcome to MetaTutor's. Do MetaTutor Caesar Cipher. No, I don't need to brand this yet. I'll brand it later. Okay. We then want to accept input from the user. So we want them to know what their menu options or what their options are for the menu. So the first one I want is encode. Second one decode, and third one exit. I want a fourth choice though, which is kind of a pseudo choice, to catch bad input, is what I'll call it right now. So basically, I'm going to print out a bunch of statements saying, press or enter encode to encode, enter decode to decode, enter exit to exit, and then again I would have something that says, I guess this would be later, but let's go ahead and write those out. So type, and I'm going to use double quotes because you can use single quotes when using double quotes. So enter decode to decode. There's another way of doing that, but I'll handle that later. I guess enter encode should come first. I want to do this. Don't know what I'm doing. There we are. Enter encode to encode. Cool. And then enter exit to exit. I think that this is a little redundant, but I like to make my menu options clear. And then what we'll do is, technically this is sort of unrelated. We're going to ask now for the choice, and so we need to set a variable for that. And I'll just say user input. That's just normally what I call input from a user. User input equals input, and it's a string. So we're gonna ask for strings specifically. So now we need to offer a prompt. So choice is what I'm gonna do. I need quotes there. And I like to leave a space so that it's not touching the colon on the other side. That'll ask us for a choice, and whatever the user enters is going to be stored in user input. Let's test it so far. User input is, and then user input. I believe that'll work. Before I run the code, I need to actually execute the main method, or main function. I need to actually, so this executes it. All of this is just a definition. If I don't at the end type this, then it's not going to run. So now we can click run module, and welcome to Caesar Cipher, enter encode. Okay, so yeah, let's do encode. The user input is encode. Awesome. So now what I can do is I can implement a bunch of if-else statements to, steer the user towards other menus, depending on if it's encoding or decoding or something like, whatever it is that they choose. And so we'll start working on that part now. It's just going to be a basic if statement. So if user input equals encode. And now tabbed over, we're going to put whatever we want to do. So I'm just going to copy this for now, and just put it under each of these, just so that we have something in there. And then elif, and that needs to be an elif statement because we also need to see if user input is equal to decode. And I'm going to paste that same thing, enter. Another elif because we want user input equal to exit. And then we have our final else statement. So this is if we do not recognize the input, then we can just loop back around. We can just run the main function again and greet the user again. Maybe before we do that, what we'll do is we'll just say, print input not recognized. Something like that before we, flash the welcome screen again. Let the user know that something's up. All right, so encode. User input is encode. Awesome. Do the same thing, but blah. It's going to say input not recognized, right? It wasn't user input is, it was input not recognized. And then welcome to Caesar Cipher and restart. Awesome. And so I can continue to enter in random stuff, and it will keep cycling me through. I am going to make it so that it's visually a little bit more separated, each of my instances. And we're going to go old school with our graphics. Welcome to Caesar Cipher. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to use just excessive use of this. Input not recognized, and then end. That is the end of a ticket, I guess I'll call that. So let's run it again, interrupt the other run. All right, so yeah, look at that. Oh no, that's way too much. Yeah, we don't need that. All right, so see, it's all about testing. Beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. I know where the beginning is and I know where the end is. Maybe one thing I can do at the end here is I can just add another print. There's an easier way of doing it, but that's not the point of this video. Now I just want it to, whoops. There we are, just a little bit of a space. Now that I have the display that I want, which is important to me, I want it to look a certain way, and I like it. Our next goal is to implement the encode and decode, which, granted, that's like the whole point of what we're doing here, but we have to build up to it, and I want to make sure that we have our menu done first.